Have you ever felt that moment in the morning when your body wakes up before your joints do? A quiet pause, a little stiffness, and you wonder why everything feels heavier than it did the night before. A patient of mine once shared a story that stayed with me, not because it was unusual, but because it was so incredibly common among people over 60. And I want you to imagine this. You open your eyes, sunlight touches the curtains, you're ready to begin your day, but the moment you try to sit up, your knees, your back, and your hips feel locked in place, as if your body is asking for permission to move. My name is Dr. Evelyn Carter, and after more than 30 years caring for older adults across the United States, I can tell you with complete honesty that morning stiffness is not just an inconvenience. It is a message. Your body is speaking to you, sometimes softly and sometimes urgently. And what shocked many of my colleagues, and even myself at times, is that the cause isn't always aging or arthritis. Often, it is a habit so simple and so familiar that most seniors never think twice about it. Yet this one habit can make your joints feel years older every time you wake up. I remember sitting with a patient who told me she felt like she had to negotiate with her knees every morning. She thought something was terribly wrong. But when we explored her routine, we uncovered patterns that silently placed stress on her joints during the night. Science explains part of it. While you sleep, blood flow slows, your joint fluid thickens, and your muscles cool down. But the real turning point happens with what you do in those first 60 seconds after waking. That tiny window determines whether your joints ease into the day or hold you back. So stay with me, because in this video, we're going to walk through what truly causes stiff joints every morning and the surprising habit that even doctors weren't expecting. And if you care about keeping your mobility strong and your mornings comfortable, I invite you to subscribe to Senior Health Daily so we can take this journey together, one step at a time. Why? Morning stiffness happens more after 60. Let's take a moment and gently step into the science of what happens inside your body while you sleep. I want you to imagine your joints as small communities, always working behind the scenes, even when the rest of you is resting. During the day, your joints stay warm and well lubricated because they're constantly moving, carrying your weight, stretching, bending, rotating, and responding to everything you do. But at night, everything slows down. Your circulation becomes gentler, your temperature drops a little, and your joints enter a quieter, almost idle state. That natural slowdown is part of why stiff joints become more noticeable with age. In my practice, I sat with hundreds of older adults who would tell me that their mornings felt like wading through wet cement. One gentleman once told me, "Doc, I feel like I've aged 10 years between midnight and sunrise." He wasn't wrong to feel that way, because while you're asleep, your joints aren't getting the same lubrication they get during the day. The fluid inside your joints becomes thicker when it's not being circulated, almost like honey that cools down when it sits too long. When you first wake up, your body needs a moment to warm it back up, to let it flow again. That's why the first few movements feel stiff or painful. It isn't always arthritis. It isn't always serious. Sometimes it's simply your body trying to catch up after hours of stillness. But there's another layer to this story. As we age, the tissues around our joints become less elastic. Muscles lose a bit of their flexibility, tendons tighten more easily, and cartilage becomes thinner. These changes don't happen overnight. They happen slowly, quietly, over decades. You don't notice them until one morning when your knees don't bend the same way, or your lower back needs an extra minute to straighten out before you stand. I've seen this cycle play out over and over again. A patient comes in worried something big is happening, but once we sit down and talk through the biology of aging, they start to understand that the stiffness they feel is often a natural result of time and routine. Still, knowing the science isn't the same as knowing how to live with it, and this is where the real challenge begins. Because while aging plays a role, the truth is that morning stiffness often becomes more intense because of habits that build up gradually. Habits that feel harmless. Habits that most people don't even realize are contributing to their discomfort. Sometimes the smallest detail in a person's routine becomes the tipping point between waking up ready to move and waking up trapped in a body that doesn't want to cooperate. Before I reveal the habit that surprised so many of my colleagues, I want to walk you through what really happens inside your joints every single morning. When I talk about inflammation, people imagine something dramatic. But inflammation can be incredibly quiet. It can simmer overnight without you feeling anything. If your diet, stress levels, sleep quality, or posture are off, even by a little, inflammation has a chance to build up in the background. And when you wake up, it's the first thing you feel. Morning stiffness is not just stiffness. It is the combination of reduced circulation, cooler muscles, slower synovial fluid, and tiny inflammatory responses that grow stronger with age. Think of it as a cocktail of changes happening together at the same time. Your joints are trying their best to function with what they have, but the stillness of sleep magnifies every problem. I once treated a retired teacher who loved gardening. She had beautiful rose bushes and lemon trees, and she could spend hours outside caring for them. But every morning, she felt like her knees were locked in place. For years, she thought the gardening was the problem. But when we talked about her evening routine, she admitted that she often sat in her armchair for hours before bed. No stretching, no gentle movement, just sitting. And sitting, especially for long periods, lets inflammation grow quietly. It restricts blood flow and tightens the fascia around your muscles. For her, the gardening wasn't the issue. It was the stillness before bedtime and the way her joints cooled overnight without the gentle preparation they needed. That story is more common than you might imagine. Most people don't realize that what you do before sleeping and what you do the moment you wake up plays a larger role than age itself. And that brings us closer to the habit that shocked so many doctors. Because sometimes the most ordinary actions have the most unexpected consequences. The habit that shocked doctors. Now let me take you into the moment this discovery clicked for me. I was reviewing a series of patient cases, people from different backgrounds, different health histories, different lifestyles, yet all of them had one thing in common. No matter what they ate, how active they were during the day, or how well they slept, their morning stiffness stayed the same or got worse. And the breakthrough didn't come from a medical test or a lab result. It came from a simple question I asked almost by accident. What do you do in the first 10 seconds after waking up? You would be amazed how consistently people answered this. They all did the same thing. They immediately tried to sit up or stand. Sometimes they swung their legs over the bed too quickly. Sometimes they pushed themselves upright, using stiff wrists or tight elbows. Some even tried to get out of bed without pausing at all. And that sudden movement was the problem. That was the habit. For decades, many older adults have been taught to get up quickly, to start the day with energy, to move without hesitating. But the truth is that your joints are not ready for sudden movement at the moment you wake up. They are cold, stiff, and lacking lubrication. Standing up too fast is like trying to run an engine without warming it. It strains everything inside. It shocks the muscles. It compresses the spine. It forces your knees to bear weight before the fluid in them has softened. And the older you are, the more pronounced this shock becomes. One of my colleagues, a seasoned orthopedic specialist, once admitted that he had never truly connected this habit to morning stiffness until he saw the pattern across dozens of seniors. He said to me, "Evelyn, it makes so much sense now. The mechanical load on the joints is too sudden. They're not primed for it." And he was right. When you stand up abruptly, your joints are forced into work they are not prepared for. The ligaments around your knees tighten sharply. Your lower back compresses rapidly. Your hips take on weight before your muscles are awake enough to support you. I met a woman in her 70s who described her mornings as a battle. She told me that when she swung her legs off the bed, her knees felt like rusted hinges. But when we changed just one thing, everything improved. I asked her to give her body a full minute before sitting up, a single minute. A minute spent moving her ankles in slow circles, bending her knees gently, taking a few deep breaths, and rolling her shoulders. Her transformation was remarkable. Within a week, she said, "Dr. Carter, it feels like I got 20 years back in my mornings. And she didn't change anything else. Not her diet, not her sleep habits, not her supplements, just her first minute. It's incredible what a 60-second pause can do. When you allow your body to wake up with you instead of against you, your joints respond differently. They warm faster, they lubricate more easily, they let you stand with less resistance. The science behind this is simple. Gentle movement activates your synovial fluid. It wakes up the muscles around your spine. It reduces the inflammatory pressure that builds overnight. It stretches the tissues that tighten during rest. It prepares your entire system to support your weight. That is why so many doctors were surprised. The solution wasn't a medication, a fancy supplement, or a complicated therapy. It was a tiny habit hiding in plain sight. A habit that nearly every senior had been practicing for years without realizing what it was doing to their joints. Standing up too quickly was the hidden trigger. And once I recognized the pattern, I saw it everywhere. When I began teaching patients to wake up more gently, the results were consistent and powerful. Their stiffness lessened, their balance improved, and their morning pain dramatically decreased. And that brings us to something even more important. Changing the first 60 seconds is only the beginning. Your entire nighttime routine and your morning rituals contribute to the way your joints feel each day. The real reasons your joints stay stiff. What I want you to understand is that morning stiffness isn't a single event with a single cause. It's an accumulation of small factors that stack on top of each other. Every choice you make during the day, every position you hold at night, and every movement you avoid plays a role. Your joints are incredibly loyal. They carry you through decades of walking, climbing, lifting, working, loving, and living. But they also respond very directly to stress, posture, hydration, and habits. One of the most common causes of lingering stiffness is dehydration. People often forget to drink water as they age, either because they don't feel as thirsty or because they're trying to avoid nighttime bathroom trips. But dehydration affects joints more than most people realize. Joint fluid needs water to stay smooth and cushiony. Without it, the fluid becomes thicker, almost sticky, and your joints feel heavier by morning. I've had many patients tell me they felt better simply by adding a full glass of water before bed, and another one right after waking. Another factor is the way you sleep. Many seniors curl slightly into a fetal position without knowing it. This position shortens the hip flexors, tightens the lower back, and stiffens the knee joints. Others sleep with their legs crossed or their back unsupported, creating pressure points that become very obvious in the morning. I often encourage my patients to imagine their spine as a long line that gently follows the shape of their mattress. Keeping the spine aligned helps reduce overnight inflammation and keeps the joints calm. But posture is only part of it. Muscle tension plays a huge role. If you carry stress during the day, especially emotional stress, your muscles don't fully relax at night. They hold tension deep within the fibers, and that tension becomes stiffness when you wake up. It's amazing how many people underestimate the connection between stress and joint stiffness. I once worked with a widower who had lost his wife after 40 years of marriage. He told me his joints became stiffer in those months than they had in decades. His body was carrying grief, and it showed up physically every single morning. When he began practicing breathing exercises and gentle stretching before bed, his stiffness eased in ways he never expected. Then there is inflammation from food. If you eat sugary snacks, processed foods, or too many starches in the evening, you may wake up with more discomfort. Not because the food directly damages your joints overnight, but because it increases inflammatory markers that build up quietly as you rest. Even a small change, like cutting back on sugar after dinner, can make a noticeable difference. And yes, age does play a part. Cartilage thins with time. Ligaments lose elasticity. Muscles weaken. But these are not the full story. The full story is a combination of biology, routine, environment, and emotion. And that brings me to something else I want to share. Habits that transform your mornings. Once you understand why stiffness happens and how sudden movement makes it worse, you gain the power to change things. Not through drastic measures, but through gentle, sustainable habits that honor your body. Habits that respect the decades your joints have worked for you. Habits that help you wake up with more comfort and confidence. The first habit I teach every senior patient is the 60-second wake-up ritual. Before you even attempt to sit up, allow your body to prepare. Move your ankles in slow circles, wiggle your toes, bend your knees slightly, and feel the muscles in your thighs come alive. Roll your shoulders and take a deep breath that expands your chest. This minute is more powerful than most medications when it comes to reducing morning stiffness. You're not forcing anything, you're inviting your joints to join your day. After that first minute, sip a little water. Hydration is like a warm bath for your joints. It softens the stiffness and awakens the tissues that support your body. Even a few ounces can make a difference. Then take your time standing. Your feet should touch the ground gently. Your weight should shift slowly. Your back should rise gradually. Think of it as greeting your body instead of demanding something from it. For many of my patients, I also recommend a short morning stretch routine. Nothing complicated or strenuous. Just enough movement to send warmth through your muscles and remind your joints that they are supported. A gentle forward bend, a slow side stretch, a soft twist through the spine. These little movements send signals through your entire body that say, "We are ready." You'll be amazed how much better your day feels when you start with kindness toward your joints instead of rushing them into action. I've watched seniors transform their lives with these habits. People who could barely stand without holding onto something began moving more freely. People who dreaded mornings found themselves looking forward to them. It wasn't magic. It wasn't perfect, but it was powerful, and most importantly, it was possible for everyone. Your joints are not your enemy. They are your lifelong partners. They respond to how you treat them. When you rush, they protest. When you listen, they soften. When you give them a moment, they give you strength. Let's take this moment together and gently bring everything back to the heart of why we care so deeply about our mornings, our movement, and our bodies. After decades of listening to patients share their fears and frustrations about stiff joints, I've learned something profoundly beautiful. Your body is not limiting you. It is speaking to you. And the way you respond says everything about your belief in your ability to heal, your patience with yourself, and your gratitude for the life you still get to live every single day. I want you to remember this. Every morning, stiffness isn't a sign of weakness. It is a reminder that your body has carried you through an entire lifetime of steps, moments, joys, burdens, responsibilities, and love. The fact that you still wake up each day with the desire to move forward is a testament to your strength. And the fact that your joints sometimes ask for patience is not a flaw. It's humanity. When I think about the seniors I've cared for over the years, the ones who thrive are not the ones with perfect joints or perfect routines. They are the ones who believe that even small changes matter. They are the ones who meet their bodies with kindness instead of frustration. They are the ones who stay curious, who stay hopeful, who stay grateful for the incredible machine inside them that continues to show up every day. If there is one message I want you to take from our time together, it's this. You are not alone. Your body is not failing you. You have the power to shape the way your mornings feel, and it begins with a single minute of awareness, compassion, and intention. So as you close this video, carry that belief with you. Take care of yourself gently. Honor the body that has honored you for so many years. And if you want guidance, support, and wisdom on this journey of aging well and living fully, I invite you to stay with us here on Senior Health Daily. Subscribe, stay connected, and let's keep walking this path together, one steady, hopeful step at a time.